Good afternoon, guys. Today is Wednesday, March the 3rd. This is teacher María Milagros, and I am recording the class that we just saw in our Zoom conference. If you were there, well, you know the dynamic. In case you weren't, I will explain what we did and the topic that we dealt with today. We started the class with this question: what makes a person smart or intelligent? It was quite interesting because the first thing that came to mind was, of course, knowledge, which is our traditional known view of intelligence. But then many of you started adding more things into the equation, like, well, I think a person, in order to be smart or intelligent, needs to know how to make decisions. He or she needs to know how to control his or her emotions. That an intelligent person is someone who is good with numbers, good with words, um, good at empathizing with others and having good relationships, good at working in teams, etc. It was quite nourishing and quite interesting because many of the things that your classmates, well, if you're watching this, I guess you're from 30 years, so that's why I say your classmates, pitched in the discussion, is what we will cover in today's lesson. But let's start. Before we get to the topic itself, I wanted to show you this cartoon. Maybe you've seen it before. As you can see, it's a row of animals before a person, and the person says, for a first election, that means like with the justice, for a first election, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Well, of course, there are only like two animals. If the penguin could climb or the duck could climb, that could actually climb the tree. The monkey, of course. But what about the others? Is it fair to actually evaluate them on something that they're not able physically or physiologically to do? We discussed this quote for a bit, and some of your classmates also pitched in that this is attributed to Albert Einstein. There is no actual evidence that Einstein made this statement, but you know, it sounds cool and it's what you find online. The cartoon is complemented by this quote attributed to Einstein, which is, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So when we were linking this to the topic of this class, we were discussing that sometimes we commit the error of trying to fit everyone into the same standard or the same level when we all have different abilities and different potentials that need to be brought into the surface. So this was the introduction to the class. And what we're actually going to see is a theory that it's called multiple intelligence or intelligences, um, which kind of deals with this belief. And I say belief because it's not proven, that we are all intelligent in our own way. It's not the traditional view that we discussed at the beginning, where it's either knowledge in math or in words, like when you take the SAT, for example, that's what they measure: words, logic, math. But that there's more than that to intelligence, and that reducing intelligence to this basic notions, it's like diminishing the other aspects that intelligence also covers. Today, I'm going to present to you what the theory of multiple intelligence suggests. Again, it's not proven. There is, in fact, very few research projects that support this, but it's nevertheless widely accepted in the education community in the world. So when you hear the word intelligence, the concept of IQ testing, for example, may immediately come to mind. And this is because intelligence is often defined as our intellectual potential. That means something that we are born with, something that can be measured. That is what tests are for, to measure your intelligence. And a capacity that is difficult to change. That means if I am born with the potential to be very intelligent, well, then I will be. Or if I get the right training, etc. But if I don't, it's something I cannot develop because I'm genetically or physiologically disposed, not disposed, configured to not be intelligent. So it would be very, very difficult for me to change that. However, in recent years, other views of human intelligence have emerged. One conception of human intelligence is the theory of multiple intelligences proposed by a psychologist from Harvard called Howard Gardner. In 1983, he published a paper on what we're going to see today. It was quite controversial. A lot of agreed, other people disagreed, and you will see why. The thing is that this theory suggests that traditional views of intelligence are too limited. So all people, no matter who, have different kinds of intelligences. So while a person might be particularly strong in a specific area, such as musical intelligence, he or she most likely possesses a range of abilities. For example, an individual might be strong in verbal, musical, and naturalistic intelligence. This guide, and we're going to see it right now, catalogs intelligence like in 8 types. There is a 9th intelligence being discussed. Right now, we have 8. And he thinks that we are all good at something. And since we are all good at something, that particular thing is our intelligence. But if we are good at a group of somethings, for example, if I am good maintaining, keeping relationships with people, and I'm also good with math, and I have a bit of an artistic eye, I like to draw. For me, it's really easy to locate and place things in space. Then that's another type of intelligence, and those are my strengths, my particular strengths. So those are 3 types of intelligence that I would have, very developed in me as an individual. In here, you have the 8 types of intelligences that Mr. Gardner suggests. Let's start with, this class is really short because we used most of the hour discussing intelligence and what are scales and what are or should be considered intelligences. Let me see if I can find my pointer. Here you are. So let's discuss this very, very briefly so you will have an idea. Bodily kinesthetic intelligence, let's start here. Body smart would be for people who are really good learning with their bodies by doing. Muscle memory, people who are athletes too. People who right now on TikTok who are able to remember those complicated dances that not everyone, for example, I cannot. I do not have the coordination or the memory to do a 10-second dance. But there are people who are good at it without even practicing. So this would be a type of bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Then we have interpersonal intelligence, which is being smart about people. That means people who are very sociable, who know how to make friends really easily and who are able to keep them. People who know how to approach others, who are not shy, who know how to build relationships. That would be people smart. Or even if you do not have relationships but know how to interact with others, that would be considered people smart. Then we have word smart, which is one of the things measured in standardized tests. How good you are with words. Do you know how to express yourself? Do you know how to communicate in a grammatically correct way with spelling, grammar, everything that you're taught in school? Are you able to comprehend what you read and then talk about it? That is all measured within the word smart, verbal linguistic intelligence. Then we have the logical mathematical, which is basically logic smart, not only with numbers, but remember those problems that you took, well, when you were presenting the test for the Math Olympics, or taking the test, sorry, for the Math Olympics, or in physics, where it's not only about numbers, but about clearing the equations. How do I leave only one variable on one side of the equation? That all has to do with being logical, having this intelligence really, really developed. Then we have naturalistic intelligence, nature smart. There are people who are very good with animals, with plants, who without even studying, they're able to get how an ecosystem works, how all the parts of nature are connected, the cycles of what surrounds us, how our bodies work, if this plant is dying, what's wrong with it just by looking at it. Nature smart, naturalistic intelligence. Then we have the fifth, which is self-smart, interpersonal intelligence, which is being smart. As you can see, there's only one person here. So it's being smart about ourselves or ourselves. How well do we know us? Do we have emotional intelligence? Do we know how to make decisions? Do we know how to control our feelings? Do we know how to explain why we think the way we think, what we think, what moves us? That is all being smart about ourselves, knowing ourselves. Visual spatial, it's the next. Picture smart. This is picture. I think picture smart is not the best word, but this is the diagram that I found. It's more about locating things in space. For example, people who are into art, visual arts, I mean drawing, illustration, sculpture, people even who are architects, designers, a bit of engineering too, because you need to work with how things move and project themselves in space. All have to do with this type of intelligence. When you're in dibujo técnico and teacher Sol is trying to show you, like, I don't know, any object in a perspective that is, I don't know, with an angle of how many degrees, and then you need to imagine that in a different perspective. Like, I don't know, if it's horizontally, you need to imagine it being vertical. Sorry, it kicked me out, so I will resume screen sharing. Okay, I was saying, with teacher Sol requests you to imagine a given object in a different angle, in a different perspective, and you're able to visualize that in your mind and draw it. That is visual spatial intelligence, according to Gardner. And last but not least, we have the musical intelligence, music smart. There are people for whom music comes naturally. I mean, I have seen people who have the ability of listening to a chord, that means a combination of notes in a guitar, in a piano, in whatever instrument, and they're able to identify the individual notes that make up that chord without being a musician or anything. They just know what. Okay, it seems like I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, well, I was saying that some people have the insane ability of recognizing notes and chords and instruments, and they are able to follow beats and rhythms very naturally, and that doesn't come easily to a lot of people. So, according to Gardner, this would fit into the musical intelligence. Let me turn this off. And last but not least, I included these slides to for you to have a better idea, but in a very brief way, of what characterizes each intelligence that is here. As you can see, the 8 intelligences. We had a brief debate about what is considered a skill and what is intelligence. We also had that when we met at school this week. What I suggest is that you do not take this theory too hard. My personal opinion is that we have skills that need to be improved. Okay, I'm not going to project any longer because it kicked me out again. But what I was saying is that some things are skills, right? Because we can work on them, we can improve. We have specific plans to work on them. However, some things just come naturally, and those are strengths that we have, even if we work on them or not. And that is, in my opinion, what differentiates between a skill and an intelligence. We will continue discussing, working with this, as you know, for our career approach of this subject in what is left of the term. But I wanted to leave you with this thinking. What intelligences, if you go with the theory of Gardner, do you have? What are you good at? What are your strengths? This is like a self-discovery exercise, okay? Because sometimes we know we're good at some things, but we don't have a label, a name for them. So this is an invitation for you to travel within yourself and engage in a bit more of self-discovery. So this has been everything for today. See you on a Monday for our reading class. And remember that you have the guidelines for the activity for this class posted in Academia. It's a teamwork, and you need to sign up first in the sheets so I will assign a intelligence for you to work with your team. So please do not forget to do that. See you on Monday. Bye-bye.